applies here or not, just first is a traditional view of anything it's being challenged right now in the industry with the churn that's happening in our system. All for the better, because our industry is going through a transformation. It will settle, but the churn is pretty evident.
And that makes sense. And it makes it that much harder to plot these guys.
You don't know who you're talking to that day. Is it the GE Phoenix? Is it the GE machine maker? Is it the GE cloud solution? Is it, right? They have many hats that they play. And so in certain areas we will be maybe pushing one way, and the other areas we may be pushing the other direction. Some areas we may not even have a conversation because we're right head-to-head in a competition.
Isn't the case, though, that when you would go into a meeting, you would have a sense of how you wanted to play it in terms of, whether you wanted to lean heavier on Intel's, own internal technological capabilities, or whether you would want to lean heavier on an ecosystem play?
Before you go into an absolute meeting, you know who the players are in the room and you know what the objectives are, right? So you've done that work. But in this two-dimensional chart, I don't have that information.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep. So
that's why.
Where I was trying to get, and if you want to go to the next slide, we had this hypothesis that along the left-hand side of the slide that we would start creating sort of buckets of messages. That we would have messages around sort of our vision for various bits of technology. Where is smart video going? What is the vision for smart cities? What's the vision for smart retail? That we would have messages around the technology that Intel in its own world creates and stands behind. Messages around the ecosystem of partners that we can bring to bear on behalf of our clients to forge solutions forward. And then, specific solutions that we have available within these kind of verticals. What are our messages around video solutions? What's our messages around smart city solutions, et cetera, et cetera. So this was, in terms of organizing what we want to say, this was our hypothesis on how to begin approaching a series and kind of system of messages against our key technologies and against our key sort of buckets of things you want to talk about. So I would love, in the last few minutes we've got here, just a sense check from you on, are there things that are essential for you to talk about that aren't being represented here? Do these buckets feel kind of right in terms of the large groups of things that you typically discuss? And I guess along the top there, are there industries or verticals or areas that are not represented that you think are going to be very critical moving forward?
I like the buckets. So I like how this is, and I see what you're trying to do, because then you can say whoever you're talking to is more of a vision, is more towards that vision and solution management, technology. Then you would hone in on those two buckets when you have this conversation, and that makes sense. I would go with. That decision would not be made for me in that two-dimensional format that you mentioned. It would be more made for who are the players in the room, how long they've been working with us, if they already know our vision for Intel, and more focused on what I can give tomorrow, because I have been talking about my vision for every meeting I've had with them. I better damn well just give them something now, right? There's so much complexity there. This is what I mean by saying maybe I think too much about it. But I like the buckets, and I love the ability to be able to pull out of this, depending on the dynamics that are much more complex than the two-dimensional chart that you showed. But it would really allow us to start to put a story together that's consistent. Now, on the top, the only one I would say is you have smart city and healthcare. We still our incubation in those phases. So are there other ones we'd want to choose? Our biggest ones are transportation, video, retail, and industrial manufacturing.
Okay.
Those are, and video is not really a market. It's a capability, right? That goes across all of these. It goes into a video camera would go into smart cities, it go into retail, it go